Good day, ladies and gentlemen. Tomorrow is Labor Day. So I'm celebrating the Labor Day weekend here. You know, got a strange sequence of events happening right now. Well, we had this giant monster. It's a monster of a hurricane. There was a hurricane like this back that I remember when I was a kid called Camille that hit around Louisiana someplace way back in, I think it was 1970s or something. Anyway, it was powerful like this one. And, people were going to have a hurricane party, and they had this big house down near the beach when Camille was coming ashore, and it was about the same power as this one. And they were going to have a big hurricane party and everything. And the building was like made out of steel and rebar and everything else, Don't realize the power and intensity of a Category 5 like this. It's not like your regular hurricane. It goes above and beyond, and it basically just tears everything to pieces. So it tore. What was left of the house after the hurricane was over was just shredded. It just basically shredded it. Camille did years ago, but now this hurricane was building up and heading right toward Florida. Well, these are facts that's happening. That Trump raised his hands up and said, "I'm the chosen one." But there's people on there tweeting saying they wanted it to hit his house in Florida, his Mar-a-Lago or whatever it's called down there. It's aiming right at it, heading right at it, And his house is right near the beach. Big, giant estate, And this thing would basically, if it hit his house, it probably would shred it. I mean, this thing is a monster, quite literally a monster. And when it comes ashore, right, if it was a direct hit right off of the ocean, and he's right next to the ocean, it wouldn't be good, But they were tweeting on there, getting on there making tweets. Oh, I hope it destroys us. Ha 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 ha. Yeah, Well, the thing's turned now. It's in the process of turning from the National Hurricane Center. So I'm going to keep my eye on it. I think the whole thing is just a coincidence that it turned. That's my estimation on the whole thing. I think it was just a strange coincidence, But that it's sparing his Mar-a-Lago estate. But anyway, I'm going to keep my eye on this hurricane very closely. And if it starts to turn back, I'm not going to do any more reports on it because it looks like it's going to move out to sea. It's like it's going to keep turning and turning and turning and turning and turning and go right off out into sea and not really make landfall anywhere. That's what the computer models are showing me right now. I'm going to keep my very close eye on it to make sure it continues to move out to sea. But if you see another report on my channel, it means there's been a change, and it's not. Maybe it's going to turn back and head back toward land again. So I'm going to keep a very close eye on that for you guys. Now, another thing I wanted to talk about is Brexit. And listen, guys, stay tuned. I'm going to talk about Bitcoin, toward the end of this. But I'm going to talk about Brexit. Boris Johnson. He has decided to suspend Parliament. Now, everybody made a big to-do about it, right? But the Queen said, okay to it, to suspend Parliament. So, Parliament is going to be suspended. They only got a very few days before Parliament is suspended. I think it's about 5 working days they have, 7 days in all. They can't come to agreement on anything. They've had years now to come to some sort of an agreement for the Brexit. How are they going to do it in 5 days? And then Parliament's suspended. And when they come back together, they bring Parliament back, it's only a few scant days before Brexit actually comes in. And so if they don't come to some sort of an arrangement or something, they're probably going to have a hard Brexit. Great Britain will be the first country to probably go into recession. Then others are going to follow. We're going to see Great Britain go into recession. We're probably going to see Germany go into recession. Recession's coming. Now, it's not on our shores yet. Canada put in a good last quarter, 3.7% GDP. The United States economy, too, is ticking along okay. I'm not going to call it good. It's not real good, but it's okay. It's not really in recession territory yet. It's all coming. Now, this all comes down to Bitcoin in the end. What it boils down to is the central banks of Earth, the one that's the most important to Bitcoin, is the one that's in the United States, called the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve has been taking a hard line. They've been hesitating to lower interest rates. They've been taking a hard, what I would call, not a dovish stance, but what I would call a hawkish stance. Now, the president has been right after them saying, okay, listen, it's time you guys really got on the ball and lowered interest rates down and brought out new rounds of quantitative easing and monetary stimulus and everything else. But they're reserved. They're being reserved, the Federal Reserve. It's that point in time when the Federal Reserve capitulates and basically they're going to be forced to, as the world economy turns downward. They're going to lag, though. They're going to hang in there, and it's when they capitulate. The longer they take to capitulate, and the lower Bitcoin goes, right now, on this end, right now, the lower this thing goes, the lower cryptocurrencies go, the faster they're going to shoot up and the higher they're going to go on the other end. The lower they go on this end, the higher they're going to go on the other end. And what I'm actually looking for is massive moves upwards in price. Because this action that we've seen lately is like a coiled spring action. It's like when you got a spring, say you take a spring out of the rear end of your car. You ever seen those big springs? If you start to put tension on it and squeeze it in, the more you squeeze that spring, the more it's going to boing the other way when it finally comes loose. Well, that's the way with Bitcoin right now and cryptocurrencies. They're being suppressed by the action in the world. The central banks are going to have to capitulate in the end. They're going to have to yield. They're going to have to do what it requires to stimulate the economy. When they change direction and they start to go into these stimulative measures, the coiled spring that is cryptocurrency is going to take off. So what this is making for you guys is, the longer this goes and the lower cryptocurrencies goes, the bigger the buying opportunity it's going to provide. So we're on this side right here, and we're watching it go lower. I am just like, come on, baby, go lower. Stay lower for longer. This is what I'm at. This is where I'm at in this thing right now. I'm like, come on, baby, go lower. And I'm really, once it goes, if it goes below, like, I got kind of price marks in my head. I'm especially watching Litecoin. Litecoin starts, in my mind, if it starts to get a little bit lower, it's just not quite, for me right now, it's just not quite low enough. And I'm thinking that it's going to actually go a little bit lower because of what's happening in the economy, the general dynamic of the economy. But that's only going to make it go higher on the other end. So I see Litecoin as an underpriced coin to begin with, because I think in the end, I think the end result, in my opinion, now this is just my opinion only, I think two coins are going to stand at the top of the list. And they're both going to be running on the Lightning Network. And I think the Lightning Network is going to grow huge. Litecoin and Bitcoin. I see them standing together. Silver and gold. They're both hodler coins. They're both something that people around the world can use as a store of value. And I see that coming up in the future. That Litecoin and Bitcoin are going to be the biggest store of value ultimately, I think, in the end. But never forget gold and silver. Now, what we're coming up to in the future, this is a ways out. I'm looking a ways out. I see a war coming between gold and silver and Litecoin and Bitcoin. And who's going to manufacture this war, who's going to create the war, is the governments. They're going to try to, they're going to be forced to, in the end, they're going to be forced to go back to a gold standard. That's going to, that when they do, when they bring the currencies around full circle, because in 1971 Nixon closed the gold window. They're going to have to open that gold window back up. They're going to be forced to, because their paper currencies are going to become totally worthless. And when they go back to a gold standard, then they're going to have something that can actually compete with Bitcoin. Because when they go back to a gold standard, they're going to adopt blockchain type technologies to run their new currency on that's going to be backed by gold. Then they're going to finally have something. But before that period in time, they're all going to release these new digital currencies backed by nothing. Like Bitcoin. They're going to run like Bitcoin. They're going to be like Bitcoin mimics. They're going to be like Bitcoin clone-like sort of thing. But they're nothing really but fiat. They're going to be like, ultimately, like a weak altcoin that's so like not much nobody wants. They're going to come to a realization, the government, that don't work either. That's not a substitute for fiat. If they don't back it with something, it's not worth nothing. That's what they're going to come to the conclusion in the end. So ultimately, they're going to have to go back to a gold standard, and then they're going to be able to compete with the decentralized cryptocurrencies. But they're going to wait so long that the decentralized cryptocurrencies are going to be so firmly established by that point in time that it's going to be a competition. That's what's going to happen. But what's that going to do to the price of gold? When they go back to, they have to back their currency with gold. Well, they're going to have to reprice gold in order to create enough currency units to go around. Moving into a mad world. Everything is starting to move toward... Anyway, listen, thank you guys for listening to this report. Stay tuned. I'll keep you updated on everything that's going on, and we'll catch you guys in the next show. Bye-bye.